Maybe in the last minute of your life, you want to be something more than a goddamn savage!
Annunziare mentatio. Ego sum homo indomitus.
Fearless rats, insanity. He watches the game fantasy. Real one, broken in sight. He searches under of the shadows and
Like this, oh, like being food for the immortal.
What is happening, my savage friends? You are listening to the throat of Immortal Coil. He survives. That's what I do. I always survive. Every single fucking time. It is Saturday, the 13th of July, 2024, 11:09 p.m. West Coast, Seattle. And I am coming at you from the elements because I have no roof over my head, literally. Now, the point of this podcast is not to cry about being homeless all night, but is just to let you guys know what my fucking situation is. I do have my PayPal out in the comment section. If you feel so motivated, go ahead and make a little donation there. Every little bit helps. Like I said, I'm sleeping in the woods behind a stone wall. But that means that there's only one direction to go, which is up. This podcast is intended for adults, no children. Put your little ones to bed. This podcast does contain copywritten content. However, under the Fair Use Act, Section 504C, Title 17 of the United States Code, the best code there is, the following program is offered in the spirit of parody, satire, critique, analysis, and or social commentary by means of subjective opinion, which means we're going to say whatever the fuck we want. Joining us right off the bat, we have our loyal soldier, RR. It's good to see you, buddy. I'm glad that you stuck around, man, because there's been a lot of shit happening over the past like 8-9 weeks or so that life has attempted to digest me, and I'm just that kernel of corn that's going to come out in the shit in the end. All right, well, whether you're listening live or on the replay, go ahead and lift high whatever it is you are imbibing and join me in the savage salute. Here is to us what is like us, not a goddamn thing. Orange citrus. Yes. Joining me, the renownable, the historical, the large testicle, the one and only servant of the gods, magic finger, author, Stephen Walton. LODONIS Dragonstorm. What is up, my friend?
Occasionally it's two fingers, but not all too often. Hail the chat. What's going on? Hail RR, everybody out there. Please make sure to smash the like button, share out the link. I'm doing well, sir. I'm doing well, sir. I was over at Zax's stream watching those funny fucks, and having a good time there. Good people there. Good people all across the community. This something that I have discovered recently, which I am so happy, is that people that I once thought were, I don't know, how do I say this? Backing up the smear campaigns against old Steve Walton, backed away from all of that and have actually gone on to do their own things and becoming really decent YouTubers. So I'm getting back into the swing of things. Rebuilding Rogue with a nice, strong core of good people. Dragonstorm is kind of leveled out somewhere around 10,200. And it's at one of those lulls, which you know what those lulls are like. You stay at around a certain number for a while, and I'm not upset. I got a good crew over there. So we got Dragonstorm Rogue, and we got author Stephen Walton Rogue, and I'm happy with both sides of both facets of what we are building together. And it's good to see you back, buddy.
Dude, it's good to be back. I in some ways, at least as far as like streaming goes, I feel kind of privileged because while I've been away, you guys have been like working and building all this shit, and I just get to like walk into it and, contribute my 2 cents.
You're on the ground floor. You're fourth wave, bro. You know what I mean? You've been with me since the beginning, and it's always, there's always a seat at the table for you. Always, man.
Thank you, brother. I think about that sometimes too, how far back we go, and like even before like the first time. Trump, he's been in the news. Somebody took a shot at him apparently, but the first time he was president, that's when we started hanging out and, all getting to know each other and shit. And yeah, we've been through several iterations of the old team there, but,
and a lot of us still talk. And that's what I really enjoy. The good ones, a lot of the good core members still talk, which I'm happy about. Sporking out there, just killing it. And I'm glad to see that he's doing things that he likes. He's doing, he's talking about stuff that he loves, and he's got Dark Council out there, good people. And this is something very different. I'm enjoying listening to Teresa. I'm enjoying listening to Miss Martin Uses. She goes out there on his streams and is such a love for Game of Thrones. And just like Scotty, they read the books and they're really into the lore and everything. And her commentary is really good, insightful, and funny. I didn't know that she was funny. And I hadn't streamed because I didn't stream with her for, since year one, and then there was a little bit of fallout between mutual friends and whatnot. It happens, but seeing Scott, doing those Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon streams with Teresa, and getting a chance to be in the chat and support that group and listening to what's going on. I'm really enjoying the crew that he's building over there, so I'm happy for him.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get him into the Last Kingdom books, the Saxon Tales, man. I started reading that while I was in jail, and there's 13 books of them, and I'm on book 12. And it's really savage shit, man. It's like Vikings cutting people in half and pillaging and he's pagan. He worships Odin and Thor, and it's in the time where Christianity, it's like the year 900 AD, and Christianity is encroaching on the island of Britain.
Yeah, and that is such a. So I love the Vikings because they were the last great pagan warriors out there, not taking shit. Once they began to settle is when the Christian invasions began. And you see, one of the things about Christendom at that time in the Viking areas is that is such a perfect example of what the what the Abraham religions do. They came into this area. People, they were they weren't forced. They were never forced to adopt to it. They chose to adopt to it in order to stabilize, their kingdom states. And but you see the attitude, how it changed. Then it became Viking against Viking. It became absorbing all of the lore and the myth from their heritage, and then weaponizing it against them and just killing people. You know, and this is what the Abrahams do. You know, like it's what they do. And I mean, what do you expect from a belief system that started with a guy who heard voices in his head, told him to burn his son alive and cut off his dick? I don't know. You know,
well, it's really interesting because it's a work of historical fiction, but there's very real themes in it, in the sense that the Christians at the time were incorporating the lore, like you're saying, evidence, the days of the week, dude.
Absorbing,
Tuesday,
right?
Odin's Day, Thor's Day,
right? That's what Christianity does. Yeah.
There was a thing in the last book that I read where they were, so the Viking in the book, he was worshiping like a Easter fest. You know, they were having like a huge feast, and you know, people were supposed to go off in the woods and make babies and that kind of thing. But then the Christians came and then said like, no, it's Easter. It's like the anniversary of the rising of Christ. And, you know, so it's
can't even
real
get their timetable right. You know, they can't even get the timetable right. And then I look at us, I'm going into Christian hate. I'm sorry. This is the pagan in me coming out. But I look, you know, there's guys, if you really want to annoy them Christians out there, this is what you do. If they start pulling that Christ is king bullshit, get an eye of Horus and hashtag Horus is king. Because Horus is a direct progenitor of Christ, directly.
Yep. Oh yeah,
and so
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, dude, welcome to the zeitgeist. Exactly right. Everything from the time of his birth to the baptism to his ministry to the followers to the miracles to the death, the way he died, entombed, resurrection, the whole fucking thing is in the Egyptian Book of the Dead. The whole thing,
right?
And that's
the 10 Commandments are
years
directly ripped out of that.
Well, dude. Okay. The pagan Jews, the Kabbalah Jews, which were the warrior nomads before they settled in the only. God put them in the only part of the Middle East that didn't have oil or rich minerals. And when they settled Israel, that's that they took those. Dude, the story of Noah. The story of Moses, all of these characters come from Egyptian mythos. All of it. So from the beginning, from the grandfather religion to the son religion to the grandson religion, all three of them, when they're all connected, all of them, all the Abrahams, they're built on plagiarism. And now I don't know Islam as well as I do Christianity or Judaism. But I'm pretty damn sure that Islam, when they were raping and pillaging across the pagan Middle East, stole myths and lores from them too. You know, I mean, everything down to the jinn. Do you think the genie story is that's not original, you know?
No, and see, that's the thing. I actually, when I was in jail, the guy that bunked above me was a Muslim, but he didn't know most of his history. Like, he didn't know what the fuck a sultan was, and he didn't know what a eunuch. I was educating him about that stuff. I've read and I've read the Quran like 3 or 4 times, dude. It's crazy.
So like, and what does that tell you, right? What does it say? The lowest common denominator. The lowest, you know what I mean? Like those are the types that those belief systems draw in.
Well, so here's the thing: is you had all that stuff that went on in Sumer Akkad, right? And stuff like they talked about in the Book of Enoch that got kind of like, you know, shoved aside so that you don't really think about who the gods really were.
And Enoch's a great book, yeah.
Oh yeah. Everybody go read Enoch, like right the fuck now. We'll wait. But then you had like the Jew tribes, right? The tribes of Israel. They were enslaved several times by different nations, like the Hittites and the Babylonians and the Egyptians. And every time they got enslaved, a little bit of that religion rubbed off into their ultimate, like the faith that's going to develop. And so what they did is they wrote themselves into history by cribbing all that stuff and summarizing it and putting it in their book. And then later on, the Islam religion was kind of a reaction to that, because you had Isaac and you had Ishmael, right? And those were the 2 sons of Abraham that birthed nations and blah blah blah. But it's interesting when you read the Quran, half of it is setting up a cultural template, And then the other half of it is about how to argue with people who aren't Muslim about, justifying your religion. But it's still like a reactionary thing, and it's still like a cultural thing that was kind of like appropriate for the time period that it lived in. But now it's doing the same thing that all the other religions do. Like, well, we have the only God, and our God's the real God, and your God's like not the real God.
Yeah, my God is a bigger dick than your God. Yeah, the whole argument.
And
and I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was even thinking about this while I was walking down the street today, but Jews, they call their God Yahweh Elohim, and Elohim is plural, but Ella is singular. And then the Muslims call their God Allah. It's the same fucking thing. And they don't even realize it, and they're killing each other, and the gods are fucking laughing, dude.
Well, I mean, okay, the genesis of Islam comes from Muhammad being upset that the Jews were the dominant people in his hometown, right? So the whole Jewish hate, and insofar as the Islamic religion, comes from their prophet, the guy who started it. He was pissed off. He was actually a Jew, and he was mad at the other Jews because they were a different kind of Jews. So he decided to create a whole new religion in order to fight all the Jews. and that's the genesis of Islam. And if you look at and when it comes to now mind you, Yahweh was a warrior god, right? So just like Odin or any other warrior god, right?
Yes.
Right. So it's an expansionist belief system. Christianity is an expansionist belief system. Islam, expansionist belief system. Why is this? You can tell because all of the golden ages from those Abrahamic religions come from the time when they were killing the most people. Every single time.
Right.
And that is not the foundation for a loving religion or accepting, or, it's not. Now, that doesn't mean that some of the things in those belief systems aren't beautiful or what are being said, and can create positivity, I guess you could say. But like I talk about on Dragonstorm, if you're not healed as an individual, right, if you have unhealed traumas or inside of you, then you have a crack in the foundation of everything you attempt to build. And that is how I look at those belief systems. There's a big crack in that foundation. And it's very egotistical to say we're a religion of peace when all of your golden ages come from suppressing others, destroying others, taking their beliefs, adopting them, and then turning around and killing them, plagiarizing them. I've never been able to correlate it. Now, that doesn't mean that I go out arguing with Christians and stuff all the time now, but I used to when I was young, because when you really look at the history of those belief systems, and then you reach back further to look at the Genesis, to look at or as far back as you can, because I think that all Western belief systems come from a core belief that existed, back 10,000, 12,000, 15,000 years ago. That's where my head's at with it. And so they're all connected. They are all interconnected. And I think the proof in that is you cannot have, at least for what we have now, for what we're allowed to know, the 6,000 years of history we're allowed to know, you cannot have a succession of solar messiah stories and it not be connected to a core story, like an original tale. And as far back as, what's the oldest one we have now? The one that comes from Sumerian.
Right.
And I think that's the oldest solar messiah story.
And that's what's a trip about it, man, is the Abrahamic religions, the guys at the top, like the Pope and the Vatican and the fucking vaults and all that, they understand everything in context. But most of the people who are practicing faith are only operating on half of a story, and it's absolutely flying by the seat of their pants.
It's always been like that, though. Let's look at the golden age of Christendom, right? When they were raping and pillaging and destroying all across Dark Age Europe. It was all
just
about,
like Jesus wanted them to.
Just like Jesus wanted them to, right? It was all about controlling information. Your serfs, all right, the slave class, they weren't taught how to read or write. They were the only interpretation that they could get of the Bible came from the religious class. And they're not the first ones to start that. Like, I'm not saying they created that. The only thing original about Christianity is theocracy. But when they, what that is the system that was held in place during Dark Age Europe, and they maintained power through ignorance and the sword. Like that was it.
Correct.
If there is an antichrist, it's the Pope. You know, like if there is,
it was the Pope, dude.
It comes from Rome.
There's actually quite a strong argument that the Book of Revelation was foretelling the fall of Rome. And if you kind of examine it from that angle, it makes a little bit more sense. And then the fact that the author had to talk in code and all that kind of shit because he didn't want to be killed by the pontiff, man. And that's even the thing. Like that after Rome fell, it didn't really fall. It just changed hats, man. They were like, okay, well, we can't win through the political means. Let's go ahead and conquer this religion and fucking manage it. You know, put it on some puppet strings. Yeah.
When it comes to Holy Rome, what's that? I'm sorry. Did you want something?
Oh, just real quick. I wanted to hail the chat. We have Montrin, and I don't want to butcher the other name. So thanks for showing up. I believe he is one of our international audience people, because it's probably like daytime over there.
Hail, brother.
And then we've had Mike showed up in the chat. He's talking about kind of ripping on us. Yeah. So. Khan had a run-in with the Arabs of his day. They were called Khazars back then. Yeah, so that's interesting too. The Ashkenazim Jews came out of a kingdom called Khazaria, and that's how come there's a lot of white people who ended up being Jewish, because that was a Central Europe kind of. Like it existed around the area of like Slovakia and all that shit. And a matter of fact, I was even talking to somebody about that, how, if they say like white people were never enslaved, bullshit. The word slave comes from Slovakia, right?
Slovakia,
right? Slav, right?
Has nobody heard of Spartacus?
Exactly, right. And talking about Vikings and shit. Yeah, they enslaved everybody too.
Yeah.
That's how fucking people rolled back in the day. It's not just a unique African American experience, even though like the fucking weird people who want to like own that shit for them. It's just not true.
Shout out to Persia. Shout out to Persia, ancient Persia, and their expansionism and basically inventing conscription. You were a slave state until you conscribed, and then you were a part of that nation, which existed for a long time. Persia was a very powerful nation. But going back, I'm sorry. Before I forget it, I just want to say, when it comes to Holy Rome and the changes of hats that you were talking about, first off, the title Caesar, which was adopted by Holy Rome. I got to ask you, I got to see Immortal Coil. Do you know your history? Who was the last? Who was the last Caesar? Who was the last Caesar of the Holy Roman Empire?
Was that Constantine?
No. Oh, no. That's way early. Way early.
Then I do not know. Go ahead and enlighten us.
Adolf Hitler.
Oh, shit. Okay, I gotcha. Well, because the Third Reich was supposed to be the third version of the Holy fucking Empire. You're right.
Yes,
you're right.
And the Caesar before him, Napoleon Bonaparte.
Holy shit.
Bro.
We got some fatties in the house, man. We got the Rookie Critic. He says, Immortal, you're alive again. Fist bump, bro. Yeah, bro. I know. I can't die unless I do it myself, and I'm just not willing to do that. I think I have a stronger will than whatever deity is thinking that this is all amusing. So I'm gonna at least live to wag my fucking cock in his face. How about that? So thanks for showing up, buddy. Another tried and true, one of the few rogues that I've met, or rogues, I guess he is a rogue. He's a fatty though. Yeah, trans fatty, and that I've met in person and given a hug to, right? So something interesting too that I wanted to bring up is we were talking about how the tribes of Israel cribbed a bunch of ancient lore, put their own spin on it and then injected themselves into the history. And it's interesting because, as you know, Stephen, this is your fucking prime pantheon right here.
Where we go
The
to
Anunnaki. Yeah, the Anunnaki were plural gods, you know, and it's my position that they were actually visitors from beyond Earth, and
absolutely they were.
You know, wowed by we were wowed by their technology, and they genetically fucked with us and all that kind of stuff. But when it came time to write the holy textbooks, what the tribes of Israel did was ended up combining all those disparate personalities into one being. And I'm not even above saying that one being presented themselves primarily to the early tribes of Israel. But when you're reading stuff in Genesis, you're actually mostly reading about Enlil, and there are a couple of passages that have to do with Enki.
Yeah.
But Enki gets shit on by his brother constantly because they're at a battle for the throne. And then genetically, one of them is more reptilian and one of them is more human. Their father, Anu, fucking stuck his dick at wherever he wanted to because he was the ruler, right?
Hail Enki, the creator, god of water.
Yeah, we have his genetics. Every single one of us has Enki's genetics in us.
Yes.
He bred with humans several times to come up with the sapien. You know, there was other versions of fucking sentient creatures that other planetary societies came down and fucked with, but the one that's here now, that's Enkian genetics right there. And that's kind of what pissed them off, man. They were like, you can't just go and mate with the humans because you're royalty, and now they have your fucking genes in them. So what the fuck are they now? You know? So it's trippy shit, man. It's trippy shit.
I mean, I recognize. Go ahead.
Yeah, if people realized what the fuck the book says and what it actually means, all those religions would disappear. And that's kind of what's been the fucking the threat or whatever, the thing that most people are scared of since the bombs started going off, is that the ETs will come down and give us our true history, and then, you know, all the control, all the false authority would just melt away.
So a couple of things. God, you covered a lot of shit. So first off, when it comes to Anunnaki, they weren't the first ones here fucking around with things. I also genetically,
they were just the latest. They
were the latest, right? And I mean, there's a reason why the Black Dragon is my sigil. You know, LODONIS, son of Enki. I recognize that. I also recognize the reptilian DNA that is within us, or within some of us, and probably a lot of us at this point.
Most of us, some of it comes out in different ways, but it is a component of ourselves, you know. And you can see some of that in like you were talking about lords and serfs and shit. That's totally reptilian. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it also adds to the rise of certain selfish disorders that we have currently. You know, we talk about the top 13 families. I don't want to go too far into that yet because I have other things I want to cover, but you talk about the Illuminati, the NWO, the top 13 families. They're heavily reptilian. And that's why you have the emerging Cluster B society, Cluster B pathocracy that we are kind of living in and is emerging now in the West. A lot of that has to do with that influence. I wanted to go back 1 second. You were talking about the Old Testament or Revelations. You were talking about Revelations.
Yes. Go ahead.
Do you know that, first off, there's a reason Tiamat's in there, the representation of the Anunnaki, and also the god, or they call it a demon, Gog Magog. They took two different words. Yes. They took the two different names, Gog and Magog.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we're all basic.
Go for it.
Gog and Magog are the oldest known names for the Lord and the Lady. The representation of the divine feminine, or the divine masculine, the divine feminine, Gog and Magog. And that comes from a lore well beyond Sumeria, well beyond Mesopotamia, Babylon. And that in itself shows you that what Christendom does, what the Abrahams do, is they take ancient knowledge, they take ancient truths, they absorb them, pervert them, and then make them evil. and they turn them.
Right.
The story of Marduk and Tiamat is one of the oldest stories
Yes. Yes.
of
Anuma
fucking
Elish. Yes, sir.
yes, brother. Everybody I know that those of us who grew up in the 80s, we were taught some Greek history. So you are Greek and Roman. So you were taught the battle between Zeus and Kronos, right?
Right.
That story is a retelling. It's simply a retelling of Marduk Tiamat. Tiamat was the seven-headed dragon,
Right.
in which
Sea
which
beast.
ran the old realm, right, the sea beast. It basically was the ancient gods. It was what you would call like the oh fuck, I can't think of them. The
Titans.
oh shit. The Titans, yeah, but there's an earlier
Yeah.
reference to that, and I can't think of it off the top of my head. But it's one of the oldest stories of like the Titans and how they were the lords and masters of darkness, and when light came to the world, when the word of light was created, that put them. Look at the story of Legend. You know what? If you guys seen the movie Legend, right, and you have darkness hiding in the son of the devil or whatever, but darkness. Run by Tim Curry, wonderful actor, who is trying to kill the unicorns and destroy the light. Right, so that darkness can emerge again. That is an ancient story. That is a very old story of the Titans, of the descendants of Tiamat, or the creatures of Tiamat. Marduk, again, Solar Messiah, in a way, after a fashion. Solar Messiah came in, fought Tiamat, destroyed Tiamat, and then broke her body up to create the heavens and the earth and their version of Olympus and so forth.
The firmament.
These stories are the firmament. These stories are ancient. But they were absorbed, retranslated, and then made into something else, perverted into something else. All of these stories have a truth. They have an innate truth from a core belief system that came from way back before modern archaeology will allow us to observe, will allow us to understand. It's because all that information is being hidden. When it comes to the West, this is what they do. Control information. This has been the thing since the time of Judea. Control information. But those stories are quite ancient. If we were privy to that knowledge, we would definitely. Well, you said like all religions would fall apart. Most religions today would fall apart if we were privy to that knowledge, because they would be proven to be a hoax, to misinformation. It's all been a fucking propaganda campaign for fucking thousands of years now. And a lot of people knew this in our past, all the way up until the 1900s. Like, this is not information that it's sequestered. But there are people that have. We wouldn't know what the Emerald Tablets of Thoth if it was. You know what I mean? If people didn't have this information.
Well, yeah. And then we got guys like Edgar Casey who it's going to beam down psychically. It's going to get out as the vibration raises, man. Yeah,
this is why things are so horrible right now. All right, the Christians think it's the end time. That's because they claim everything, but it's not. It's the end of the age of Pisces. We're moving into a new age,
Aquarius,
and we're moving into Aquarius, and so all of the procession is happening, and the people who have been controlling information and running the world and to their own desire, they're coming to the end of their run. And that's why we have all of the social instability that we have. This is why we have the wars. This is why we have crazy taxation, the destruction of farms. There's so many things you can go down the list. This is why. Because they're running out of time. And so they're trying to hold on to power. They're doing what narcissists do. They're trying to hold on desperately to the power that they have, while gaslighting and destroying others. And their mode of thinking is they're going to take down the rest of us if they can't rule us. Yeah. And it's kind of a scary, and it's a scary thought. Okay. All right, you're muted.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're good. No.
On X or Twitter or whatever the fuck it's called these days, whatever it's calling itself, I follow another contactee, and her name is Elena Dannon. Dannon. And she's talking about how we shouldn't even call them the elite anymore. We should call them like the mentally fucking deranged, because they're basically rich, mentally deranged psychopaths, and they've been carefully manufacturing a version of reality that we cleverly agree to participate in, even as we don't realize that we're being hoodwinked. We're like being convinced to be the jailer of our own prison cell, and we don't even realize that we're doing it. Like if we realized our true creative power, like the kind of stuff that you unleash in like your ritual, if we all did that every day, just fucking of our own accord, we would be like masters of 3D reality. But we're being convinced to give our power away to these like fucking energy vampires, dude.
Yes. Yes. That's why we see that's why we're seeing the emergence of cluster B personality disorders and other types of disorders today, because that's what they are. And manifestation, especially group manifestation, is a very powerful tool, which is magi, this religious institutions, spiritual peoples have known this forever. That's why they control the media. Control the mind. That's why they got away with stealing the election in 2020. And control the media, control the mind. And they created that fear campaign with the coup. And it was all to sequester hope, bright outlook, positivity. That's one of the reasons. Look, I'm not putting Trump on like a holy altar here, but that's one of the reasons why they hated him. First off, he was not part of their cabal, and he was bringing hope to people. And even if you were a Democrat or progressive or whatever, and you hated Trump or whatnot, just the very fact that we had a good economy and that you could pay your bills and you could go on vacations and things were getting better. Even by proxy, people were feeling better about themselves. And then what happened when the elites? What happened when the deranged? Here we go. We'll call them the deranged. What happened when the deranged took back over and stole that election? These last few years have been hell for everybody.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like literally the president has like a fucking hand up his ass and he's a fucking puppet. He doesn't make any sense. Nobody fucking understands anything he says, and everybody's just kind of like looking the other way and pretending he's not shitting his diaper.
But the power of manifestation and illusion. This is like the power, but the difference between illusion and willpower, right? Narcissists and psychopaths, they're illusionists. Neuronormative people, they use willpower. When you have the psychopaths in control of our media, in control of our institutions, then they can create that. They have the power using illusion to have a dude who's obviously mentally insolvent sitting in the White House and is still praised by some people and is still supported. And the idea of one evil being better than the other is hogwash. Like that's where we're at in our society. That's where we have been brought to.
Yeah, you think about it too, like even celebrities like entertainers and singers, they're trying to make mental disorder like sexy and in vogue. They talk about having multiple personality disorder, and I have to switch to this other personality to perform. And then when they're performing at the Super Bowl, it's actually like a satanic ritual going on. People don't realize that shit. And they're sitting there participating in it, giving energy to it.
They understand something that's also been lost, something that I call secondaries, which is the ability to use some, let's say, how do I dumb this down? Use spirit guides I'm trying to dumb this down. Imagine that you are a character in a Dungeons and Dragons game. All right, or a role play game, right? And you have these different slots. Okay. You got your different armor slots, your rank slots, all that stuff. Okay, your spirit guides and the ancestors are your armor. Or spiritually, those are you put them in those different slots. You can use your ancestors. You can use spirits to accentuate yourself, to not change into something else, but resonate a certain type of energy, which allows you to tap into strength, a certain type of strength, intellect, talent. This is a thing. It's always been a thing. The Vikings used to use animal totems. They understand how to use that. But the thing is that with them, when you do it darkly, you're using, for lack of a better term, demonic spirit. Using demonic or low vibrational spirits, entities, the nature of them is to drain energy. So these energy vampires, these psychopaths and narcissists and people out here that are running everything. They understand this talent, and so they attract these low vibrational entities and use them. So when they talk about shifting into another person, they're not literally, but they are shifting into another resonance, another lens, another perspective, in order to achieve a goal.
To even get into the entertainment echelon, a lot of those people have undergone like ritual abuse and mind fracturing and weird shit like that.
Let's talk about P. Diddy for a minute. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, you don't get to that level without participating in quote unquote the game a little bit. And even if you don't want to, they'll make you, and then they'll take pictures of you. And then if you step out of line, they'll fucking screw blue and tattoo you all over the fucking news. And you know, it's like it's a better question to ask, who did P. Diddy piss off? Because he was doing that shit for 20 years. Same thing with Bill Cosby. You know, same thing with
sacrificial lambs.
What's her name that's running? Yeah, what's her name that's running Star Wars now? Her old boss. You know.
In part. Okay, I mean, there's many different facets when you talk about that because okay, the destabilization of our societal fabric, depends on playing to low vibrational base, negative instincts. All right. So racism one, right? Absolutely. I think racism has something to do with it. All right. Let's show another black guy, let's bring down this. And then the people who are racist are going to look at that and see black. The people who did not make it into the entertainment industry or did not get their push because they didn't sacrifice their souls to Satan, for lack of a better term, they're going to be upset. Then the victims themselves, they are not getting the amount of exposure and the amount of attention that they should be, really, because we're not focusing on the victims, which is what we should be doing, focusing on the victims and what their place and what they went through. And that's because the reason we're not is because the same thing is happening by people in the media, people in government, people in Hollywood. This shit's still going on.
Hang on real sec. We got Tina in the house. What is up?
Damn.
Yeah, did you need to say something? Did you need to say something, Steven?
No, I'm done. I'm totally. Whenever I see Tina, I'm ghosted. I'm done. Because Mr. Bojan is my spirit animal.
Hey, there you go. The Adventures of Mr. Bojan's wang, right?
If I could have a secondary, if I could have another secondary, it would be Mr. Bojan. I want a Tina in my life.
Love you, Tina.
But there's a lot of facts involved. He's a sacrificial lamb when it comes to that. There's others out there. I was just talking with my dad, my father, right? Who's like, the only reason that he claims to be a Democrat and all that is because he's narcissistic and he loves, supporting that shit. He's negative, a low vibrational person, but he there's people out there like that. That I was explaining to him about things like the island and how many times Biden visited the island. And I was explaining to him about Big Mike. And I'm talking to all these things that should be common fucking knowledge. It should be common knowledge, but it's not because of the illusion, because of the illusionists. And the
it's like everybody knows, but they pretend it's not so. And that's the fucking delusion right there is, the emperor's not wearing any fucking clothes and nobody wants to talk about it.
Right. Exactly. Why is it? I tried explaining to him. He was like, "Oh, I've never heard that." I said, "That's because you watch the mainstream media. That's because you take the mainstream media as holy writ, and it's not. That's not news. That's a story. That's a fairy tale that you're being told."
You've never seen that clip of Big Mike jumping around on TV when there's fucking shit's flopping around?
Never seen any of it. And to be fair, Coil, I tried to get clips of those because I wanted to put a montage together, and I've had a hell of a time finding them.
They're probably trying to sanitize it because it's fucking election season. But once it's on the internet, it's forever. Somebody out there has. I bet Black Angus probably has some of that shit.
I know Wes Moody does.
Right.
I used to have the pictures when I was hanging out with Vinny Tardamella. Like because he has that stuff. He has access to it. And I used to have some of the pictures from Biden on the island, and I think I erased them. I think I got spooked.
Yeah.
I erased them, and it reminded me of this story. Matter of fact, I'm going to go back. Let me go back and tell you a story. And I'm not saying this is true, and I'm not saying it's not. Okay, I'm just saying that this is what I was told by this guy that I was
Just
working
putting
with.
it out there. Yeah,
Putting it out like 20 years, about 20 years ago. A friend of his was in Manhattan. Was it Manhattan? Was in New York when the Twin Towers, the event happened, and took film of what was going on at that time. And part of the film that he had showed the object that was shot into the towers. He had that on film.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. He did not tell anybody he had it until 6 months after the event, and then he started putting it out on the internet. That video disappeared. The G-men showed up at his house, and he never saw his friend again.
No, it's a trip. It's kind of like whatever the fuck hit the Pentagon, they went around and they took all the surveillance, all the traffic cams and all the convenience store cams, like all that shit disappeared.
Fucking plane did not hit the Pentagon.
No, it didn't. And nothing like that happened in Pennsylvania either. If you see any sort of plane crashes, there's like pieces of fuselage, there's wings hanging around, there's bodies and guts and shit. Like, it's nasty, dude. And what it was like a crater. It was like a hole.
A mortal coil. It's 23 years later, and that's still the story. You know what I mean? Like,
it's amazing
that
when
is the power
you could see videos of the squibs going off, man. That was a controlled demolition. That was a controlled demolition. You can't tell me any different, man. Yeah.
Let's not talk about Building 7. You know, and
I know, right? What's that? Oops.
That's
look over here. Hey, nothing's going on.
That's still right, and that's still the story. That's still the story. It makes me nuts. You know, the power of bullshit, of liars. I had always understood the power of liars and bullshit, and then I ran into the motherlode of it. You know, and it did what it did, and I got through it, but. Now I have this real hatred, concerted hatred for these types of personalities, these unstable, delusional personalities, and the amount of control that they have over our media. And this goes in line step with belief systems and religion. Well, Western religion, I should say.
Right. There's three kind of tiers to the slave collar that we have. One of them is government. One of them is religion, and one of them is economic. And all three of those things serve to, one of the things that the ETs say that I always thought was really profound is, why would you have to pay to live on a planet that you were born on? We're the only fucking planet that uses money because it's a system of control. It's totally, we worship it. We're its slave. It has the word God written on it, dude. I mean, come on.
It does have the word God written on it.
It does. It sure does, it's man. Also good. And then, and
it's got the all-seeing eye. All of the imagery that people put onto it that are, the unenlightened, the ones that think they know, and they look at and they see the all-seeing eye, and they're like, oh, that's satanic, that's Illuminati. I'm like, those are symbols of power that are being used by Illuminati. Those are still powerful symbols, but they're not being used properly.
Well, right.
It's not evil.
And that's another interesting thing. We were talking about co-opting ritual and stuff from the Judeo-Christian sort of thing. A lot of those ancient icons and symbols have also been with us through the ages. And it's just
Horus
been perverted and at least publicly perverted, but like privately behind closed doors, like that's how the elite kind of signal to each other. And then they kind of laugh that we don't understand that shit.
You see that video?
Understand, which one?
No, God, it's I'm sure you've seen it. The one with Jim Carrey when he goes on that talk show and he just starts.
Going
off all the Illuminati symbols. Yeah, I mean, they know. They all know. It's the biggest open secret. But the power of illusion and bullshit to gaslight people, to use sleight of hand, in the public eye. has this ability to keep us in a state where 23 years later, you know, when it comes like with 9/11, 23 years later, people still believe the bullshit story. They still believe it.
They do. For you guys listening, a real good primer for the towers and the symbolism. Go read David Icke. I started reading David Icke in like 1998, maybe, and then whenever the towers fell, like I was seeing it play out live, and I knew what was going on, and I watched everybody fucking act like idiots and not understand what the fuck was happening, you know. And I was like, holy shit, this shit's real, man, you know. And everybody thought I was crazy for reading that shit, but now like it's all around us. So
there's a YouTuber. Oh my God, I'm so mad at myself right now because I can't remember his name. Ryan Roger Athey was promoting him. I'm going. You know what? When the stream's over, I'm going to find it and I'm going to put it in the comments because you guys got to. This YouTuber was doing a review of Back to the Future and the symbolism in Back to the Future, which is really interesting. Now, I'm not saying that I believe in it and what he was saying because it was all over, dude. I mean, talking about the old god symbolism, Illuminati symbolism, ancient symbol, all of it was in there, and I couldn't believe it. But one of the things in the before they stopped just after Marty had gone and used the time machine and went back to 55. One of the things that was pointed out was the scene at the Twin Pines Mall. And the Twin Pines Mall, if you reverse the image of it, it has the two trees look like a pair of towers, and the time on it is 9/11. Holy
shit.
Yeah, bro. Like, I was just like, are you kidding me? Now that's not it. That's not the entire I can't remember it all, but I'm gonna share that in the comments for you guys. Please go and watch this video. They only got up to like not even halfway into the movie. But it was talking about Pluto and the underworld, plutonium. Marty was the Pluto of the underworld. The correlation with Doc, the time symbolism, like everything from when he first walks into to Doc's house or garage, whatever the fuck it was. Oh God, man, I was such a great breakdown. And if you want to go down a rabbit hole that may or may not be true, it was an excellent breakdown. God, I cannot remember the name of that guy. Something Dragons. One of the co-hosts was Something Dragons.
Yeah, apparently Mike's seen it. He's saying that he knows who you're talking about. But if you know who that is, Mike, go ahead and throw it in the chat comments. I want to say hail to the chat. We got 7 of you listening live. Go ahead and smash the bell. Share out the video. All the listeners we can get. I still need watch hours, you guys. I've been in jail and I've been like without a phone, so I haven't been able to attend to my channel as I should. But
the SJWs threw Coil in jail because how dare a white man be chilling?
I was thinking about this, Stephen, like how we're talking about the artifice of society and how false it is, and like how people are just complicit, and then you have guys like you and me who are more or less awake, and then we get eschewed by society and like kicked to the side. It's like we've been chosen to not participate in it, and so it makes me wonder, like, is this gonna like all the shit that washes over everybody else? Are we gonna be immune from it because
we're not manifesting correctly?
Yeah,
we're not manifesting correctly. That's the core of it, bro. Because look, in my darker thoughts. Yeah, I always think like the bad guys always win, but that's not the truth. Bad guys do have a leg up. Like the people who are insensitive, unempathetic, selfish, egotistical, they do have a leg up because they can operate in the system of this world as it is structured now, with a predisposed advantage. But everybody can win. It's a matter of determination and figuring out what it is within you that is keeping you from succeeding. And that's our issue, Coil. That is our issue. There's something within us that is not allowing us to manifest correctly, to create what we need, to create growth and prosperity. And I've kind of started figuring that out. I've done some recent inner work, and there are opportunities out there. There are opportunities that are opening up And it's just a matter. It's a matter of, dude, being appreciative, smiling, loving yourself, being a friend to yourself. It's also like gratitude, man, being gracious to what the universe offers you, and always keeping your eyes open for opportunity. It comes down to,
Right.
yeah, there's something. I look at my current situation, which is an incredible opportunity for growth that has not manifested. And a part of that, of course, I think, honest to God, is I was punished a little bit for letting the hoovering hobgoblin back in the door. But
Right. I heard a little bit about that, but I haven't had the opportunity to ask you about that. And
well, no, okay,
it's
no, well,
kind of a
that was
different
back in
show
the day.
anyway. But we'll stick to the savage
well, no,
shit. We'll talk about that later.
when it comes, well, I mean, when it comes to, I'm not dropping names or going into anything heavy. I'm just saying that when it comes to, okay, when the gods, source, your angels, however you look at your spirituality, when you know damn well that you're not supposed to have this in your life, or this is bad for you, or the door has been shut. If you let that door open up again, if you let things that are not supposed to be in your life anymore back in, because darkness, energy vampires, those types, they're going to come after you. If you let them back in, then you sabotage your own growth. And other doors will close. Like, God is fickle, man. God is fickle with you. If you don't take the opportunities that he or she or it offers you, and you decide to run in cycles of self-defeat and run back into a past that you know is bad, then sometimes God's just like, all right, go ahead, bitch. And just let you fail. And just because you're looking to fail. It is looking forward. It is, overcoming those obstacles, the negative aspects of our nature or damage or things that we have gone through in life. It is overcoming those and then moving forward. That is when progression happens. And sometimes you got to fight a little harder. If you allow yourself to make the same mistakes, like addictions, then those doors are going to keep closing on you.
I can personally attest to that one. Yeah.
Me too, bro. Me too.
Yeah.
I'm addicted to I'm addicted to selfish, toxic broads. I don't know. It's like, you know what Tina said to me the other week while you were going? I was having a conversation with Tina, and she said, "Steve, every time you say I love the damage in her eyes, I get scared for you." Yeah, I get it. And I did. Coil, I banged this toxic broad the other week.
Okay.
All night long. This is savage. All night long. I mean, over and over again. And she appreciated my penis. And I needed some penal appreciation. And
okay. Did it come with any baggage, sir?
Oh, dude, are you fucking kidding? Who am I? So she but Coil, I recognized every red flag. I did. I saw the red flags coming. I understood who I was dealing with. I every sign, everything. But I did understand what I was doing. So I knew that I was going to get a lot of crazy, great sex from this highly unstable woman. And all my kryptonite, bro. Blonde hair, blue eyed. Do anything, choke her, whatever they wanted. You know what I mean? And then it ran its course. Within a week, it ran its course, and it was gone, and I was good. I bounced back. Now, that's not a loss, Coil. Understand, all right? Because I got what I wanted. And then it went away.
My question to you is, what sort of energetic consequences did you experience as a result of dipping your wick inside crazy? In a
sarlacc. This is where the question of addiction comes in, right, Coil? Because the energetic backlash from
Did she take dictation? Listen. Yes, she did. She sure did.
The energetic backlash was a recognition that, once again, that for some fucked up reason, I am attracted to the absolute worst type of women. But actually, to be honest with you, my awareness of the situation and what I was involved in, which actually, I'll tell you backstage, it created a Hoover, first off. and we'll talk about that later. And someone showed their ass in my chat, which was beautiful. But because of my awareness of what I was dealing with and my ability to cut it off, the energetic backlash was not what you would have thought it was. It really wasn't. And I don't know. I think that
real fast. It shows that Rookie knows what show he's listening to. He says human
there
women.
you go. Yes, I bang the terrestrial ones. I bang the demonic terrestrial ones. And Coil, they come. His peen is so lean they come from Alpha 16. So it's
it's been about 2.5 months since the last encounter, and
terrestrial poons doesn't shake his room. You know.
Well, and it's one of those things like I can hear people going like, "Well, you're homeless. Why don't you just call a UFO and fucking get the fuck out of here?" That's not how it works. You know, the ETs don't want to be in the business of rescuing people because that just subjugates you to them. And they're trying to get us to get past that point. But more importantly,
that's why they don't sleep with me.
Well, yeah, but like if you're in a correctional facility and then you're eating like dollar store canned items, your genetics aren't going to be prime, you know. So it's just one of those things.
I am too toxic. I am too toxic for space pussy. I think that's what it is, and I'm okay with that. I'm all right with that.
There's some other life where you're probably an ET and you're banging human women, you know. And this is what's funny is like everybody's like, oh, my body and my reincarnation and blah blah blah. You realize like the human organism doesn't take a lot of energy to run it. So a lot of times we're actually having simultaneous lives as we're incarnate here. You're existing somewhere else too.
You remember when
fucking trip, man?
Yeah, remember when I shifted timelines? What was it? 3 months ago?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Remember that shit? I'm starting to think this timeline sucks. And I just want to say that, can I go back to the other one?
Well, you can weave a new one, but like that's the thing we were talking about, the Mandela effects, where because timelines are condensing and shifting, past events as we recall them didn't actually happen that way in this time frame. Like in this time frame, it happened. It was just a little bit different, you know. And I saw a video the other day where somebody was talking about that with the Berenstein Bears. They were like, was it spelled with an E or with an A? And nobody can remember. You know, it's just shit like that. Just weird, trippy little shit. So I did have another far out topic since I mean we blew our wad on the Abrahamic religions for a little bit, but
we always seem to go back to Christ.
Well, it's such a prevalent mythology, man. It's so like it's like a modern mythology. You know, we like think about people like we read it in the Bible. We read about the golden calf incident, you know, and solar celestial things aside, you're sitting there wondering like, how can they like put a fucking cow on top of a pole and then like worship that, you know, when everything else is just as absurd that people worship today, you know? Do
not disrespect the age of Taurus. I wish I could go back there because there was a lot of sex happening, all right, in the age of Taurus. All right, we ended it with an orgy, okay? I'm sorry, but hail Taurans.
Oh yeah, hail the divine prostitutes, hail Inanna.
Hail the real reason for the season of Easter. All right, ritual sex. Hail.
Hail. So just because so I'm trying to preface this because it's a really bizarre story, Stephen. This is something that happened to me personally, and
you banging a blonde?
Well. No.
Okay.
What do you know? What do you know about? And I don't know if it's Celtic or Druidic, but what do you know about the wee people, the little people? What do you know about that? You know, just
I know that being short sucks. I'm not going to say quite a bit. I have an understanding.
Well, if you could just give like a basic course in it for the people who I'm pretty sure most of the people listening to this right now are savvy to that, but maybe somebody will pick up this program that, you know, so go ahead. And
this world,
tell a little bit.
This world is full of different types of spirits. We as 3D beings, which we have been reduced to, due to the genetic manipulation that we went through. We live on the fringe between 3 and 4D. Within the 4D, there are entities who exist everywhere on this planet. You can call them nature spirits or whatnot, fairies, whatever you want to designate them as, that live in their own realms, and they can live side by side with us as we exist, just like fifth dimensional, sixth dimensional beings. A lot of them live in what we call, some of the we people, they live in what we would call like the nature realms, your forest, your streams, your bogs, your swamps. Those are the residential areas for those types of beings. And in ancient times, when we were a lot closer to source, to Gaia, to the energy of Gaia, we would go out and
real quick. We got the lovely Sherry saying, Hey Sherry, how you doing, sweet?
Hey, what's up, Sherry?
All right, continue.
So twice now I've seen Sherry. I seen Sherry last night, came through Dragonstorm. One of the reasons why, at least when it comes from the Druidic philosophy, that you have stringed instruments, wind instruments, and these types of things is because you would use spell song to open up portals or to attract these spirits to you.
Or like you could get stuck playing the flute for the rest of your life, you know? Yeah, right. Yeah, dig it. Yeah. You go to a babbling brook and you sit and you play the flute, right? And then you would actually, depending on the tune you were playing, you could attract forest dwellers, forest spirits to you, or thin the veil between the worlds. That along with psychedelics or herbs or smoking different things, or ingesting. So basically, we folk or fairy folk are beings who live, they're nature spirits. They live in that realm. They live in the fourth dimensional realm. So they too can look down. It's kind of like looking down, down a ladder. You can see something down the ladder, and they can do that. They kind of come within the fringe of our universe. They interact with us in our world constantly, being as that they are higher dimensional creatures. They can the legend of the borrowers, right? You ever lose something out of fucking nowhere? You ever just like put your keys down somewhere, put your phone down or something, and you just lose it out of nowhere? Yeah, right. That could either be, you having dementia, or it can be a spirit from a higher realm or a nature spirit coming along and taking your shit and borrowing it for a while and then bringing it back to you. That's basically it. That's about as much as I can explain in a nutshell. Okay. Well, I appreciate that explanation because I had an encounter with 2 of them the other day.
Really?
And yes, and this is like I kind of was hinting at this when I was talking to you last night. Yeah, but I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag because I wanted your reaction to be genuine and I wanted to have it be live. So I'll tell you the story. So I've been living outdoors since roughly the last week of May, right? I had like a day or 2 where I slept on my buddy's fucking floor, but for the most part, I've been outside. And the first week or 2, I'm kind of bouncing around trying to figure out like where I want to be because I don't like other homeless people. Other homeless people are weird. They're on fentanyl and they're like bent over downtown, and I don't have any time
homeless person.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about that too. I was like, I can't believe that you're homeless downtown Tacoma. I can't believe you're not homeless in North Tacoma. I like the asshole homeless guy. I'm like, yeah, I see that you're under the overpass. Yeah, I live in the woods.
I see fairies.
No, totally. Well, I know, right? What, are you hanging out with a guy around a barrel? You having fires? Yeah, I'm hanging out with like naked, topless fairies. Fairies wear boots, tell no lies.
If they only looked like Tinkerbell, Like,
no, I'll get to their physical description. It was odd, man. So
of course
it was actually 4th of July, and the spot that I ended up finding out that I settled on, that I'm kind of like You know, like sometimes
Your
I'm
plot
thinking
of
like,
land.
oh, when I get home, and I'm like, well, that's not really my home. That's just my spot. Like I gave it I gave it a name because it's like there's
my
a
spot.
stone wall, and then there's some trees on the other side. So it's like, when I say I'm living in the woods, I'm not living in like the national park with like Smokey the Bear and fucking Bullwinkle and shit. So there's a wooded area that's adjacent to the community that I'm in, and then this community has like stores and bus lines and all that kind of shit. I go into the trees to go to sleep. You know,
That's
'cause
you
it's
saw fae. It's
Yes.
actually very
Two of
rare
them.
to see fae folk in a busy area like that.
Well, so that's what's weird is the place that I encountered them. It's separated by a stone wall from everything else, and there are some high tension wires close by. I thought
Okay.
I thought that you would find that interesting.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
so I'm going to try to describe this like there's a stone wall, and then behind the wall there's a ledge, and then there's like a little wooded area, and I have some trees around me. I have the entrance to the wall. I was able to sort of make a front door out of like blackberry plants. So there's like thorns and shit, and then it's so that
That's your defense.
if you're looking at it from the street side, you can't see that there's anything back there. You're just going to see a bunch of thorns. And I also have like the invisibility kind of magic going on.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's if you don't see me, don't see me.
Exactly. Sometimes I'll say blind, sometimes I'll say invisible, sometimes I'll just, you don't look the other way, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
So before I put any of that shit in place, this is when I encountered the Fae, right? So 4th of July, people are blowing shit up until like 1:30 in the morning, and there were several times where I tried to sleep, but I couldn't because it was just too noisy. I was kind of scared that the people in the neighborhood next to me were going to like shoot bottle rockets at me or something. None of that shit ended up happening, but around 1:32, everything kind of finally settled down, and I closed my eyes, man. And the first thing that I noticed is that when I had my eyes shut, I could see energy on my eyelids, and it started turning into like weird imagery, like things were transmogrifying into faces, and then it would turn into like a pillow, and then it would turn into a couch, and then it would turn into a creature, and then it would turn into two things, and then so I would wake up and I'd be like, okay, stop that. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that shit. That's weird. I don't want to go to sleep and then be stuck in a dream with this weird fucking imagery. So stop. And then I closed my eyes again, and then it started up again. And seriously, like yeah. So again, like I opened my eyes, and I'm just like, I'm serious. I'm not kidding. I don't want to see this shit. Knock it off.
Right.
And I'm kind of talking to the universe. I'm just like, knock that off. So I close my eyes again, and I start seeing it again. And then I open my eyes, and I'm like, okay, if you're gonna show me weird shit, at least show me some tits or some ass or something,
Right.
And I did see some tits and ass, but it was like it was not sexy, dude. It was just kind of like, okay, fuck this. You guys are fucking with me. Something weird is going on. So what I tried to do is like I'd shut my eyes, and I would try to direct it. I would try to use my will to change the shape or the energy into something that was palatable, or at least able to go to sleep alongside, so that I wouldn't get stuck in a weird dream dimension. Okay.
So you were having a sorcery battle. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. So I ended up falling asleep for a little bit, and I don't know how long it was. It seemed like it was instantaneous, but you're starting when I started the story, I was telling you it's like 2:30, 3 in the morning. You know what the fuck that is, right, Stephen?
Yes.
The witching hour. All right. So I'm sitting there asleep, and then I wake up because I feel something, and I open my eyes, and there are two little people standing right in front of me, like 2 feet away from me. And here's what's weird.
What did they present themselves to you as?
Okay. One of them was about 2.5 feet tall and
Mm,
looked kind of
that's big.
stereotypically like trollish or elfin. So like
Okay.
big nose, big cheeks, like a stupid little hat, big round belly, but the proportions were wrong. And here's what's weird, Steven, is like these two beings, I know the difference between a ET and an Earth spirit because they vibrated like Earth, but they were not human, dude. They were not human.
Yeah,
So there was one of those guys, and then there was another guy who was probably like 3.5 feet tall, but he was sitting down like with his back to a tree. He had messy hair and he had a beard, but his face looked really different. You know, like proportion wise, like he had like a high, like a heavy brow, big eyes, a regular like beard as we would consider it, but it was like a sandy, like reddish or blondish, you know, like strawberry blondish, something like that. And this all happened like really fucking quick because when I woke up and I saw them sitting there, I didn't realize what they were. I thought there were two children watching me sleep.
And then they blinked. They blinked out.
Almost. We're getting there.
Okay.
So I looked and I saw them. The one that looked a little more elfin or trollish, he was staring right at me and kind of grinning. And then the other guy, like I sat up, like I was laying on my left side on the ledge, and they're in the trees like 2 feet away from me. And I sat up, and I actually had like a pool noodle, like I went and bought from dollar store. Like I cut it up, and I was using them as like bolsters. And I sat up, and I pointed the pool noodle at them, and I said, "What are you two kids doing here?" Before I realized, like this is all like within 2 seconds, okay? And I'm pointing the pool noodle at them, like not like threateningly, but kind of like I thought there were kids, and I was gonna scold them and be like, "What the fuck are you doing, you know, in the middle of the night watching me sleep?" Because I'll tell you what, man, it gets into your primal fears. You're
of course
men. Yeah. As human beings, we're scared that we're going to be killed. Yeah, we're scared that we're going to be killed in our sleep or when we're on the shitter, which is why The Unforgiven's such a badass movie, right? Gets shot on the shitter. So I'm wagging this pool noodle at them, and I'm like, "What are you two kids doing here?" And I look at them and I realize that they're not children. These are like grown adult, tiny little devas, right? And the guy with the beard, he looks straight at me, and then his face starts to like get all fucked up and sideways, like his it's like it's rolling up into itself, and then they turned into fucking bushes, dude. I shit you not. I shit you not. By my fucking, I swear by my fucking dick hair that this is all true. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't doing drugs. Haven't done any of that shit for a couple of months. And right away, so like I got that sense that like, okay, these are the two motherfuckers who are fucking with me, and not like maliciously. I just think that they were kind of like mischievously having like Loki kind of shit, right? Yeah. It wasn't like they weren't trying to hurt me. They're not gonna, you know, harm me or anything, but they totally were watching me sleep, and they were totally playing with the energy on my fucking eyelids.
Well, they were interested in you. They were having fun. They were out there watching the lights, first off. You know, that's what they were doing. And then they came across you. Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, totally. And I'm sure that they don't meet a lot of people like me, you know, but at the same time, it was unnerving because I'm just like, these two things were watching me sleep, and holy shit, I didn't like sanctify my space, and I didn't like, you know, do all the shit that I'm supposed to do. Yeah, dude. So I definitely went out and got myself some iron. Thank you, Steven, for telling me about that shit. And, you know, I said the fucking intention. I was like, listen, this is my sphere, my sacred space. Nobody is welcome here without prior consent. Do not come in here uninvited, period. And just to cement it, I actually like pissed all over where they were standing.
Holy shit. Goddamn, bro. Goddamn, that's pretty aggressive.
Yeah. Well, you know, I would prefer to be consulted before I'm visited, because I was
Your
telling you when I was with some
Fae,
ETs, it didn't like go that well, and I ended up hurting some of them. Yeah.
Fae folk don't operate on that level, bro. They don't.
No, they don't.
No, they're creatures of chaos. They're absolutely having fun with you. They have, well, one of the things, if you have been abstaining from your addiction, is that you are opening up more. Your energy is becoming more pure, and you're able to sense things a hell of a lot more than you ever have, or at least have in a while. All right, and so they can't, dude. They were interested in you. They were absolutely interested in you. They were out there watching the lights. They came across you, and to be fair, Fae are strange like that. They could have been looking after you.
Maybe
that's the intention that's the feeling. That's my impression.
But I don't understand. I don't understand. Well, I don't understand why they would choose to play with me like that. And then like the one dude with the beard, I'm serious, man. Like it's like his face like folded into itself, and it kind of reminded me. You remember at the end of Terminator 2,
because
the
they don't like
metal Terminator, like when he's dying and like his face turns inside out. It was kind of like that.
Unless they choose it, then they have to choose it. They do not like being seen. So in the same way that you have, you were talking about the animalistic reaction of, feeling safe, waking up and seeing someone there, and it triggering that in you. They have those same feelings. And I'm sure they do. The way that they trigger it is by someone in the third seeing them, one of us seeing them. That's why you have to coax them. Like you have to, first off, I mean, for ancients, they are magi. They would have to create a relationship, just like a witch creates a relationship with the elements. You have to create a relationship with them to make them to lull them in, and they're very skittish creatures. Very skittish. So, of course, the first thing he was going to do was see him and go, ah! That's the first thing that was going to happen. But to see them transposed, to see them blink out like that. But not just that, but to transpose into the third dimensional, the three-dimensional.
To cross from the third to the fourth. Yeah.
To see that happen, that's fucking incredible, man.
And it's weird, Steven, like, part of me is kind of like, that's one of the weirdest things that's ever happened. But like a lot of shit that happens to me is just fucking weird. And in some ways I feel like kind of used to it, but in the other sense, like you're talking like maybe they were looking after you, or maybe,
that's the sense I get.
If they
were curious,
if they wish to have like a tea and cookies or something, I wish that they would do it when I wasn't sleeping, Not
how it works. That's not how it works. When you're awake, you're harmful. Remember that our kind, before we were dumbed down energetically, our kind interacted with them, and we're humans. We hunted them.
Right.
That's why you have the story. The story of the leprechaun is very, very important to understand, right? Because humans are trying to capture a leprechaun and then make it use its magic. Okay, and this is why I like the stories that you see even in like modern Dungeons and Dragons, which comes from ancient stories and comes from ancient tales. Humans have to produce magic. We have to capture it. We have to, use that. And Fae folk, they are magic. That is their energy. So we steal their essence. Back in the day, one of the tools of creating magic was stealing their essence and using it. So there's an ingrained fear in them that if they are seen by us, that we will steal their power. And that's why in the stories of the leprechaun, humans try and trap the leprechaun, and then the leprechaun fools them, like a genie or like a djinn. Well, just like a djinn, will fool the human, and then attack the human back for daring to try and trap them, because they're Fae. They're very free. And if they're scared of us, they are as scared of us as you are of them.
Oh, that's true.
The same instinct. And
even
comes
just
from the ancient times.
Yeah, even just sitting up and pointing a pool noodle at them, even sitting down, like I was physically much bigger than them, and I was kind of curt in my tone of voice when I was like, "What are you two kids doing here?" And then.
Like I said, at the witching hour in dream state. So
Yeah,
the same
totally.
chemicals in the brain that creates dream is the same chemicals in us that we used to have much more access to before we were dumbed down to see fourth dimensional or to travel into fourth dimensional. So you were in that state. You're in that twilight state. It's the same way that, like, the druid or the magi sitting next to the babbling brook, they're leaning up against a tree and playing the flute to seduce the fae folk into showing themselves or to listening to them, right? As soon as that dude stopped playing the flute, if he wasn't in a very calm, centered state, the energy coming off of it would immediately be noticed by the fae, and the fae would freak out and blink. And that's because they exist on a different resonance than us. They're a totally different species in every way.
Yeah, you know, if I hadn't had the background and the kind of life that I've lived and been exposed to the knowledge that I know, I would have been tempted to seriously question if that actually happened. Because I was wondering too, you were talking about that in between sleep and awake kind of thing. The college word for that is the hypnagogic experience. I was starting to wonder, like, was I so asleep that I was still kind of dreaming when I saw them? No. I mean, I saw what I saw, and it was quite bizarre. And it's weird, Stephen. Like, I've read about this kind of shit.
Bitch.
Sorry, I didn't mean to drop you out of the show like that.
No, you didn't drop me out of the show. Somebody came along and bumped me out.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
That's wonderful of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. They were, because we're talking about them. Sorry. Okay. We may not be entirely dissimilar. I apologize.
It's all good. We do have Miss Jillian showing up. I do want to offer a special thanks to Jillian. She was very kind to me and sent me a new phone when I it was the weirdest thing, Stephen. I was supposed to, okay, you guys, I was supposed to go and visit Stephen in Pennsylvania. Jillian had bought me a ticket, and the idea was like, okay, we're co-hosts, we're buddies. I ain't got shit going on. Let's go and try this thing in person, because we always said we're gonna take it on the road and sleep on your couch and eat your food and all that kind of.
And
shit.
Steve was going to be the big spoon. All right, guys, yes. I'm the big spoon.
But I shit you not, on the eve of the plane ride, I was in the woods, and seriously, like, the universe ripped my phone. It flew out of my coat and landed in some tall grass and, like, promptly dissolved. Like, I spent a day and a half looking for that fucking phone. Yeah. And so I was
to go.
No, you know, and here's what's weird is, like, Stephen and I just kind of, like, we're ruminating about it, like, maybe you could come out and visit. And then, like, Jillian was like, here's a ticket. And suddenly there was this feeling like, oh shit, is he really coming out here? I don't know if, and Stephen was going through some personal shit. And then, just for whatever reason.
I did not put a root on you. I did not put a root on you.
I didn't, and I wondered for a hot second if that was the case, but I was like, no, he wouldn't do that, No. Nah, but obviously the universe ripping a phone out of my, it's a clear sign that I wasn't supposed to go. And not only that, man, like, if you're not homeless and you lose your phone, it sucks. You can't, you're like, oh, maybe I'll use my tablet, or maybe I'll jump on my laptop, or maybe I'll borrow my spouse's phone for a second. When you're homeless and you lose your phone, you are effectively rendered a non-person. No access to bank account. Everything is behind Google. Google wants to send passwords to your phone, and I don't have a phone. I can't get to my money, so I can't buy a phone. So I have to go and sell my plasma until angels named Jillian, who live in Italy, decides to intervene on my behalf. So I do want to say a sincere thank you to her. That's above and beyond. She's definitely the #1 fan of Savage spirituality. Sorry, guys. She wins. And it's just, it's beyond me. She and I have never met face to face. We've had some conversation, and she just a really awesome person. She feels tribe vibes for me. So, you know, it's amazing. But so I did want to say that, but I didn't want to cut you off. You were talking some really cool stuff about the Fae. It's stuff that I've read in books, you know, and you take it for granted, like, yeah, you know, in nature settings and near water and in trees and shit, little people live there, and people have been seeing them for thousands of years. And fuck, I was visited, 2 of them, watching me sleep.
Yeah, they fucked with me too.
Did they?
yeah, absolutely. They just did. But because of my, I don't know, man. It seems like I lean more into my draconian side. So a lot of the supernatural things that I have encountered in my life have been darker. You know?
That makes sense. You mentioned that your first circle was a little bit more dark magic. I don't want to say black magic, but darker. Like
Oh god, we were in the fucking necromancers, bro. Full on fucking draconian fucking necromancers, man. Yes, and that shows in that the situation that I was involved with for those few years was connected to that first circle, and it's the people that were involved with it, with the exception of myself and another, have all either passed away or succumbed to negative cycles, succumbed to like real negative cycles, you know, and that have defeated them. So it seems that has been a price, I guess, for the type of magic that I was practicing at the time for those years, and how it, you know, in my early development. So
but I'm sure as your craft has grown and changed, you've kind of switched around some of how you do things, right?
So, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But there was a time, man, where my homes were filled with things like magic mirrors, which, guys, I don't recommend you use. And I don't practice with those elements anymore. I mean, that's why actually, when I got really into Wicca, you know, earth-based neo-paganism, it was a huge growth experience for me. But I have several times in my life kind of, I don't want to say devolved, but shifted back into dark. And you know, it's an addictive thing. Dark doesn't denote evil. Dark is dark. But when you shift dark, you attract darkness, you know? So,
right.
You know,
the danger
it's
of the seduction of the power. It's the dark side.
Well, because it's quick. It's quick power. It really is. Right, dark side, light side. And this is the thing, though. Before I even fucking was a fandom menace historian or any of that stuff, I used Star Wars was my spirituality. The Jedi Sith relationship. That was my kind of like how I referenced through sci-fi.
George Lucas is fucking around. He knows some shit, man.
Yeah. And Star Trek was the human side of me, you know. So, like to use Star Wars references, when the dark side is the quick and easy power, it really is, and it gives you incredible boosts in a short amount of time. The problem with the dark side is that unless you maintain yourself in a powerful low resonance, then you are subject to just like losing momentum. You know, guilt. You can't be a creature of dark and have empathy. You know what I mean? Like, this is why,
right?
Narcissists, we'll just say narcissists because I talk a lot about narcissists. Narcissists operate in a very low, dark vibrational frequency. Their secondaries are usually demonic. Their abilities are illusion, lie, dispersion. You know, and resonating high. When you're a white witch, for a Jedi, for instance, you are very powerful in your timing, your enlightenment. Things just happen. Good things just happen because you're in a compassionate state of mind, selfless state of mind. You know, but both have their advantages and disadvantages, and being able to vacillate between the two when needed is, at least in my experience, a powerful tool.
Well, that's one of the things about Darth Sidious in episode 3, and one of the things that I can't really disagree with what he said was In order to understand the great mystery, one must know all of its facets,
aspects,
not just the narrow dogmatic view of the Jedi. And I get what he's saying. Yeah.
But he's a psychopath. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally. No, man, he wanted Anakin for his power and for what Anakin's power could do for his power. You know, he's a total, nothing redeemable about Palpatine. But I can recognize truth in words, even if they're uttered by evil people.
Well, there is truth in it. Yeah. There is truth in it, right? Okay, so let's put it this way. So if you had more Jedi in the Order that were like Mace, the Jedi would not have lost. Mace Windu understood the dark side. He practiced. He understood it. He researched it.
That thing. Yep.
Right. Vapad. If they were all on that level, then they wouldn't have lost. You know, they wouldn't have. It was the light-hearted. It was the selfless, compassionate. Things will work out as they will. Idea of people like Yoda, and those guys that caused their downfall, because people like that cannot conceive of a psychopath, just like people cannot conceive of a narcissist, right? If you've never dealt with a narcissist, you cannot conceive of it. People think you're just going through a normal breakup. It's not a normal breakup. You're dealing with gaslighting, hoovering, smear campaigning, somebody who is relentless and trying to destroy your character, trying to bring you back in, and it's all about control. And if they don't have and even when they have control over you, they're destroying your character. And if they don't have any control over you, it is all out. They are pissed off. How dare you be an autonomous fucking being, evil. Those types exist. Mace understood that those types exist. Yoda understood there was evil, but could not conceive of it. And that's why the Jedi lost.
Well, and it's a trip too. If you read the Legends material, and you guys, we're Star Wars nerds, you're just going to have to forgive us. If you read the Legends material, specifically Yoda, because he had such a long life and he rose to be the Grand Master of the Order. One of their failings was that they thought that the Sith was defeated, and they were training. The way that they trained was to defeat an old enemy, an old iteration of the Sith. The whole Bane, the whole Bane lineage, where they're undercover and they're deep dark, and there's only two of them. So the entire power of the dark side is essentially split into two individuals, one to embody the power and one to crave it. They didn't know what the fuck was happening. And then Sidious came in. He was like Hitler kind of genius with like godlike powers, you know, like he was
the ultimate narcissist. The ultimate psychopathic, the malignant narcissist is what he was. And so the reason that I say, like, if they had more Maces, or if Mace was the Grand Master, first off, there would have been no Anakin Skywalker. He saw the damage in that boy. He understood the damage in that soul, and he knew that was a path to the dark side. But Mace also, because Mace is like, Mace Windu was like a dark empath. So if there was no Palpatine, Mace could have taken Anakin under his wing and trained him to be like him, you know, to understand the dark side.
Yeah.
In order to defeat it. He absolutely done that. But you're dealing with a psychopath, and you're dealing with a very damaged person who, God, we're going to do this. We're going to do the Star Wars, the Cluster D Star Wars at some point.
We have to.
But because
too good.
Anakin, no, he did. Anakin had mommy issues. He had an absent father, so he had mommy and daddy issues. Okay, and he was taken from his home, and you know, first off, the sexual repression thing, totally not right. You know what I mean? Look what it did for someone like him. He had unhealed, unresolved issues that were exacerbated by a methodical psychopath who was using his insecurities against him, his cravings for power because he felt weak inside. That's Anakin's almost his entire problem, was feeling a lack of self-worth and not feeling like a powerful person. He did not love himself. And so he was susceptible to the manipulation of a narcissistic psychopath.
Right.
Mace could see that shit, but because people like fucking God, I can't think of his name. Oh my God, his master, not Qui-Gon. Because Obi-Wan was a pure soul, right? He had some issues, but he was a pure soul who had never suffered at the hands of manipulative abuse like that. He could not conceive He could not conceive that that existed. And so it was easy for Palpatine to do what he did to Anakin, because the only person who could see it was Mace, and everybody kept going, Mace, chill out.
Right.
You know, that's what it was.
Well, the thing that trips me out, again, if you read the Legends material, it talks about how Mace Windu very nearly succumbed to the dark side, and the reason why he wasn't able to fully fall was because he devised that Vapad thing, where he's able to take the dark side energy and then channel it into something positive. And when he was fighting dark side users, he would actually use their own energy against them. And that's how come that's really how come I believe that he a lot of people say Palpatine threw that fight so that Anakin would, you know, come and rescue him. I really think Mace Windu could have fucked up Palpatine using that Vapad.
He did. He did fuck up Palpatine. He absolutely did. What swung the? Okay, so what swung the battle? Okay, I gotta go Dragonstorm, Narcissus Slayer here for a minute. What swung the battle was the Dark Empath won. All right, he was mirroring the narcissist. He was mirroring the psychopath, and he defeated the psychopath. He defeated that person because he has a strong core. He understands himself. All right, and he had intelligence. All right, so when you're dealing with a Sith, you're dealing with someone who lives through passion. All right, that's emotional deregulation.
Right.
Mace had emotional intelligence, and he was able to defeat him. And what defeated him in the end was the flying monkey. What defeated him in the end was was the co-signer. All right, it was Anakin Skywalker, the flying monkey, the unstable element, the person who believed the smear campaigns, the person who believed the bullshit that the narcissistic psychopath was saying. And because he had been because his emotional traumas, his childhood traumas had been played on and used and manipulated, Palpatine was able to turn the tables using his flying monkey. That was the unstable element. Mace Windu won. And this is why it's so important to surround yourself with people whom you trust because their actions have spoken who they are. Your actions have to speak. You have to pay attention and observe what people are doing and saying around you. All right? Because you could be in the position of winning over evil when a flying monkey who's been getting lied to and manipulated, who you thought was your homie, will come out of nowhere and stab you like a Tommy. They will fucking stab you. And then you're done.
These are the opinions of author Stephen Walton.
Mine and mine the fuck alone. I see you for who you are.
There you go. There you go. You know, and it just goes to show how many layers there are to Star Wars. I mean, you can read super deep into it, or you could just kind of like enjoy it for the laser swords or whatever, which is, you know, and everybody go out and buy volume 2. It's why it's such a fucking crime what Disney has been doing to, you know,
well, because now it's being run by a bunch of fucking broken people. It's being run by a bunch of fucking narcissists
who want to
psychopaths.
see themselves on screen so badly.
Yeah, it's the Sith. The Sith run it. The Sith run. That's what Disney Star Wars is.
Oh yeah.
You know, off topic real quick. Another thing I want to mention. I'm doing a video coil. It was inspired by Scott Clark, and I'm putting this video together because we were talking about Batman Returns, and Batman Returns are two of my favorite. They're my favorite Batman movies. And so, what was he saying? It was like in reference. It was in reference to something else, but he was saying like Penguin in that film. Penguin's a narcissist. I said Penguin is absolutely a narcissist. He's a malignant narcissist, absolutely. And then I was thinking about it. I was like, Catwoman's a borderline sociopath, right?
Well, she had split personality too, man.
Yeah. She's out of her fucking mind. Split personality too. Yeah, well put. But
Michelle Pfeiffer in leather. Can we just say that real fast?
Oh God, it was so good. But then he was talking about Batman. You know, Michael Keaton's Batman. He was like, well, you can look at him like he's a dark empath. Because, you know, he's a dark. He went through fucking shit in his childhood. He, you know, came pretty close to being. He could have been a bad guy. But he chose instead to fight bad. He mirrors bad guys. He is the darkness. He is the Dark Knight. Yes. Right. And then we were thinking about Joker. It was like, well, Joker is a psychopath. So absolutely, he's a fucking damn right. He's a psychopath. So I'm going to do a video about Batman and Batman Returns, breaking down the psyche of those characters.
That's a good angle to come at.
Yeah.
So everybody knows I've been to jail. I'm not gonna make a
Yeah, me too.
thing out of
A couple
it.
times.
One of the conditions of going to jail, because they're requiring me to go to substance abuse treatment outpatient 1 day a week. Okay, and I get randomly pee tested and all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna be sober for quite a while. On the positive side, but the counselor that they set me up with, she had this room full of like Batman toys, man. And now that you're talking
Nice.
about it, so I asked her, I was like, do you really like Batman or do you just collect toys? And she goes, it actually came out of a joke that I said. I said, like, you be Robin and I'll be Batman. And people just started bringing me Batman shit. And I was like, all right, let me give you a piece of lore just so that if somebody comes around questioning your credentials, you can kind of throw this out. There was a comic book where it showed the first time that Wonder Woman met Superman and Batman. Okay, and obviously she's a goddess. She's an Amazon, Themyscira. I want to go and live there, Steven. My dick wants to go and live in Themyscira. Okay, just gonna say that.
They would hate your penis. I'm saying they would vilify your penis.
They probably would. They would. I would die by snoo. I'm okay with that. See how nerdy we get, you guys. We came from nerd culture. Yeah.
What if you show up on Themyscira and they all look like Leslie Headland?
They'd probably rape me too, but they're like, "Oh, fresh jeans." Right? Fucking like. Gonna do the Amazon position on me. They're like 7 feet tall, but they look like Leslie. Fuck. Man, you just turned something happy into something really not happy, Steve. It's all good. It's all good. But so yeah. So this counselor chick, she has all these Batman things. So I was saying, like, okay, so in the comics when Wonder Woman first met Batman and Superman, she used the lasso of truth on them. And for those of you guys who don't know, whenever she uses the lasso of truth, people are compelled to tell the truth beyond their means to resist. So she asked them what their secret identities were. And then Superman said, my name is Clark Kent, but my real name is Kal-El. And then Batman said, I'm Batman, because Bruce Wayne is the disguise.
No shit.
Batman's really who he is. Bruce Wayne is the disguise. He has to be this like arrogant playboy, fucking rich guy, fuckhead in public so he can be himself at night. And that's another layer to that psychological piece, man. Maybe you should throw some of that in the video.
Yo, dude, you know what? We're gonna work on that together. That sounds good. Incredible.
I love that shit, man. And that's why Batman's. Oh, well, that's why he's such a compelling figure, man. I mean, like, aside from attempts to make him like kitschy in the '60s or whatever, he's like a tormented soul, dude. He saw his parents blown away in front of his eyes. Come on.
Okay, well, that was during the, what is it called? I can't remember. The PG era of comics is when that show came out. You know,
Super Friends.
And if that had not happened, you know, in comics, if they did not try to make comics happy and they had continued on with the '50s, you know, the '50s comics, we would have gotten a much darker Batman series. We would have got a more realistic Batman series. Not realistic, but, you know,
well, thank God for Frank Miller and Tim Burton, man. I mean, that's and the animated series too. You know, that really kind of course corrected his character.
Tim Burton did do one thing to Batman that should not have happened.
What's that?
Batman would kill a motherfucker in those movies. Remember he stuffed the bomb in that dude's shorts and kicked him down a hole? That would have not have had. That's not Batman.
Well, one thing I like about Batman is, like, he won't kill you himself, but if you end up dying, he's not really going to be upset about it. You know?
Okay, that's true. But like, it wasn't until the later Batman. It wasn't until, like, you know, like 45-year-old Batman that he really came to that point, I think.
Well, and that makes me wonder. So in the Man of Steel or whatever, when Superman breaks Zod's neck, how do you feel about that?
Yes. I think that was the only recourse given the structure of the film. Actually, yeah, Kal-El. I think Kal-El will kill if he has to, if he absolutely has to. But that's why it broke him. Like that whole. Remember how he acted, how he reacted in that.
Oh
film?
yeah, like he didn't want to have to do it, but like Zod was going to wreck the fucking planet.
Yeah, but at the same time, he stood by when in fucking Superman 2, and fucking Lois was kicked what's her face into the fucking pit. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, the Shadow Zone bitch. I forget her name, but so it's a trip. In DC, there's like some alternate kind of like Injustice comics, right, where we see Superman. Those. Yeah, but Superman's he's not like evil, but he's kind of like the dude on The Boys, where good Superman he holds back. You know, he's all about like being moral. But what if Superman didn't hold back, and what if he thought that he knew what was best for planet Earth, and no one can fucking stop him?
Well, so, I would say Injustice Superman is evil. I would say that, but if there had been a happy medium between the two, like if he was more apt to just like eliminate evil, like if you're straight evil, he comes across a fucking narcissist, like you're evil, laser beam eyes, that's it. Like then, I could deal with that. I could deal with that.
Let me ask you this:
some people are just unsavable.
Well, and let me ask you this, because we were talking about the tribes of Israel stealing things, right? Two Jewish guys invent Superman, and they give him the last like L as an epithet. Do you think that's an accident? I don't think it is.
I don't think it is. No, I don't think it is. But it's something I don't really think about. Thanks for Jewing it up for me.
I have to. Yeah.
Well, I mean, at the same time, Superman is also another. He's a solar messiah figure.
Well, that's weird because the concept of Superman came from the Nazis, right?
Yeah, well,
Hitler was talking about that shit.
Oh
yeah.
God, I'm going to say this out loud. The Nazis weren't all off on some of the things that they.
Well, as far as like esoteric knowledge, and then the fact that they were contacted by off-world intelligence. The Greys actually tried to contact the Nazis, and the Nazis told them to fuck off because they were already fucking with a different race. And so the Greys kind of skipped around time and came to bother Eisenhower.
yeah, right. Jesus, and that really helped out. And we ended up getting Nazis over here anyway. But
right.
Hello,
you can build
NASA.
rockets, right? Yeah. Why don't you come on over? It doesn't matter if you fucking kill people.
Right,
we kill people too.
Okay, first off, the whole story of we never got to the moon. The Russians were on their way to that long before we were because they utilized those scientists, and we didn't for the longest time.
Oh yeah. Well, see, the thing is, we had the technology to send ET home, like back in the fucking late 50s. So all that like going to the moon in a fucking paperclip, duct tape, fucking tinfoil little crap.
That's bullshit.
It's all for show. It's all for show.
It's all bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, we got ships, we got Stargates that will plug you right into fucking Mars like in 2 seconds. It's not all that shit. I mean, a lot of time we were talking about that earlier. A lot of times the symbology that we are presented in popular entertainment and movies and shit, it's an inside joke. They're laughing because they're telling us exactly what it is. But we're pretending like it's, that was a funny movie, Cocoon. Yeah, that's great. Mm-hmm. Stargate. Yeah, that was a great flick. Can't happen here, but fuck.
Yeah, man. And God damn it. It's like, I was born a generation early, or you know what I mean? Like, I would really love, as Steve Walton, to have been able to see, the procession happen, Like, we're going through the worst part of it. We're going through the part where all of the liars and psychos and the draconians in power are trying their damnedest to hold on to that power, which they're going to lose anyway. And we have to live through that. It's going to be our grandchildren who get to see like the real awesome shit when it finally gets exposed that we have made contact, like fully and all and open, that the ships that we have, the technology that we have, like they're going to benefit from when all the liars have died. You know?
That's why I really missed streaming with you, man. It's been a difficult 2 months because I've been stuck with muggles, and I
I know
met
what that's like.
Yeah, I've met two people in real life. They actually run a Scandinavian gift shop over in Parkland area. It's called the Longship. You guys go and support them if you can. But they're metaphysical, and I didn't have to hide in front of them at all. But then
Isn't that a beautiful
really,
feeling?
yeah. Plus they're pretty good looking, man. They're not that bad looking on the eyes. But
Nice.
it's one of those things, like hanging out with them for a second. I was just like, man, I really miss Steven. And that whole time, like you guys listening, that whole time, like I didn't have a phone. I wasn't really in everyday contact with Steven. You know, I mean, he wished me well and all that kind of shit, but like, what can you do when you don't have a phone? You know, you just kind of like, okay, I'm sure he did what he could energetically on his side to try to help out, but it's like, you know, I was without my brother. And so streaming and talking about metaphysics once again, man, this feels so good. You know,
It feels
what I was
good
gonna
to
say,
see you too.
yeah, it feels so good, Steven.
It feels so
It
good.
feels great, you guys. Sorry about the street outside, you guys. So
He's homeless.
what I was gonna say, the serious point that I had when Steven's not being the big spoon is generationally. Generationally, you see like the human biomass on this planet is greater than it has been in recorded history. That's because of the juncture in time that we're occupying specifically. Like Steven was like kind of bemoaning the fact that he's like alive during the shift change before like all the golden era shit is going to happen for our children, our great grandchildren, all that kind of shit. But if you think about it, we fought tooth and nail to incarnate specifically in this little slice of history. And for you and me, Steven, like we're in our 40s as the tail end of Generation X, because I don't identify with that millennial shit at all. Fuck that. We're like the last like tough generation that hadn't been like brainwashed into, you know, taking chemicals and like wearing skirts and, you know, and I'm not shitting on people who choose to do that, but I mean the cartoon political people who try to make it like proselytizing in our face and servicing of the illusion, not like the real people, you know?
Yeah, well, you know, I think I'm a Gen X millennial hybrid, and
Are you?
I think, yeah, absolutely. I'm 77. You know, I look at like millennials aren't that bad. They really weren't. They're not. It's the Z's. It's the Gen X's, the Gen Z's. I'm sorry, the Gen Z. They're the ones who have been programmed. Unfortunately, they didn't get to live in the 80s. They didn't get to live in like, you know, the better part of the 90s. I mean, the 90s were pretty good.
They were for a long time. I mean, up until like 99.
Listen, no, you know what? I'll even give a shout out to like the early 2000s, even though 9/11 happened, you know, inside job. And even though like, you know, we had the draconians in charge, there were still some progressive, oh God, I can't, should I use that word? There were still some societal advances that took place during that time.
The word has been co-opted. It's been turned into newspeak, man. So
yeah, you're right.
And we were talking about that earlier. So you say like you're a recovering Democrat or whatever, but truthfully, the type of Democrat that like JFK would be considered a Republican these days.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and I can get behind that sort of Democrat.
George Carlin too.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, totally, George Carlin would have been called a bigot, racist, awful, you know, phobe, this, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You know, and he was, and all right, and George Carlin is my kind of liberal. that's what I am. Like that's my kind of liberal.
Totally. You know, and it's weird. Like I used to like to say that I was like moderate and I straddled the fence, but like the way that they're the far left fucking cartoon crazy motherfucker, it's making me look like conservative as fuck, even though I don't like I'm not so conservative that I just vote for anything with a red tie. but it's
First
just
off,
by basis of comparison. You know what I mean?
First off, spiritually, I am ultra conservative. Okay, I don't identify with the new religions. I don't care how many thousands of years they claim to have been around. You know, and fiscally,
right? You
Well,
serve the
yeah.
old gods.
I serve the old gods. I
the
am an ultra.
OGs, right?
Yes, the ones who
Yeah.
built what you claim you built. And you know, fiscally, I guess I would say I am conservative, and socially, there are certain things absolutely I am conservative on, but it's not in the scope that, like, in today, what you would call conservative today. You know, it's not what you would call conservative today. It's I think it's true conservatism. When it comes to being to progression, and as far as like times change go, you know, times change go with the times. I am liberal in that way, but the problem is that quote unquote progressives are radical, and you cannot build something on a foundation of destruction. You can't. There's
You sure
a reason.
can't.
There's a reason why we have gender roles. They're natural. There's a reason why there's a certain rhythm to human nature, because it's a natural rhythm to human nature. You can't destroy that or attack that or vilify that and then try and build something, and because it's all delusional. It's all fucking delusional,
and it's going to be to dire consequences, man. In like 10 years or so, all these motherfuckers that are cutting themselves up and taking hormones are gonna
they're already doing it. They're already doing it, Coil. There's already people that are like, oh my God, my parents didn't love me and they let me do this to my body, and now I've got to, you know, and this is part of the plan. This is part, like I said, the fucking draconian psychopaths that run our institutions and our media and our governments and our religious states. They are losing power. They know that their end time is coming. Their shift is coming. And so they're going to take everyone down with them. They don't care about these kids. They don't care about trans rights. They don't care about racism, or they don't care about any of these things. They are the evil.
Well, and we were discussing this too. This is like the last dying grasp of a
The psychopaths.
failing system, and this is like the screaming, fucking, flailing baby. This is, you know, we're taking their toys away. They can't play with that shit anymore. We're not going to allow
This is
it.
the narcissist who was lured to your house, and you went out and kicked his fucking ass, and then he got up off the ground, dusted his pants, and said, "I got jumped." That is what we're dealing with. That kind of emotionally deregulated, selfish, egotistical, grandiose, delusional people. This is what we're dealing with. And when you see people like P. Diddy go down, it's just because the only reason that happened is because he pissed off the wrong psychopath. You know what I mean? His that's all it was. Yeah.
Well, and that's why it's so funny. You made that promotional video with the "I'm so sexy," but like that screaming lady, that meme, that is so fucking apt. Like as soon as everybody saw that, everybody knew exactly what that was about.
Yeah.
And now that people are taking shots at Donald Trump, he's pretty much assured the election. You know, I fucking
he's assured if they don't steal another one.
Yeah, and I typically abhor politics. Like I said, it's one of the three chains of slavery that's around our necks collectively. But when it comes to our country, as fucked up as it is, it's still like the most free place in the world, and that's why they want to take it down so desperately.
Well, kind of, sorta. You know, like I have to say that, kind of, sorta. We're slaves to the economy, and we are slaves to a false media. You know.
Then let me ask you this: what country would you rather live in?
At this point in time.
At this point in time. I'm not saying Akkadian like 2,000, 8,000 years ago, right? No, I'm talking about right now.
Bermuda.
Bermuda.
Yeah. I want to live somewhere.
Themyscira, right?
Away from no. I want to live far away from other humans. You know, I don't it's hard for me to trust people. It's hard for me to trust humans anyway. Yeah, it doesn't. I
Well,
don't
you know
think it
what?
really at this point in history.
You know
It
what
doesn't matter
happens?
where you go. I don't
Yeah,
think.
you know what happens when you live
Russia,
away from
maybe
people?
Russia. Mm.
You know what happens when you live away from people is divas watch you while you're asleep.
Listen, the Fae folk can come and fap. All right, they can come and fap with me. I would rather live with the Fae. I would rather live with those crazy fuckers.
Let me show you the long stroke.
Jesus
We call
Christ.
it the Walton twist.
Yeah. The little
twist at
people,
the
my
end,
dick
that's the
looks
secret.
huge.
Right. You know, the little people to make your dick feel bigger. This is savage spirituality, you guys. Right on. Well,
Whatever
on
it
that
takes,
note,
man.
yeah, on that note, we've been going about 2 hours strong. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out. Let's go ahead and hail the chat. Let's see. We had RR show up at the beginning. What's up, RR? Mike showed up. Loyal soldiers, all one and all. Who else we got here? We had a new subscriber to my channel. I actually got like the notification and everything.
Man, thank you, man.
Mantren, yeah. We appreciate you, sir. Our international audience. And we are an internationally acclaimed show by now, guys, right?
I think so.
Well, yeah. What else
I want to know where
we
he
got?
lives. Is your place normal? I want to come live there.
Yeah. We had Miss Jillian, the other international audience. Angel on Earth, thank you again for the wonderful phone. Parrot Head taking shots here. Palpatine looked at Anakin like Walton looked at trees. All right. Yeah. Steven's a druid, you guys. Right. We had Rook stop by. What up? Fatty salute.
Yeah,
Love you guys.
I was supposed to cover Cobra Kai with Rookie Critic.
Yeah, he actually I saw a thing in there about that, but yeah, so I want to thank everybody for coming out. Please like, share, subscribe, send this all out to word to your mother kind of thing. I'd like to thank my guest Steven. Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody where you can be found and what you're up to?
Oh, if you are into entertainment commentary and laughing at Joe Biden, please stop by author Stephen Walton. More videos coming your way as soon as I can upload them because I can't do it right now. And check out Rogue Entertainment's great group of people over on that channel every Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can also come over and bitch about narcissists on LODONIS Dragonstorm. I'm going to have Sean K. Howerton, narcissistic abuse recovery coach, as a guest tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Me, Scotty, Coach
I'm looking
Randy
forward
White.
to that too. Absolutely.
And we just go over there. We talk about self-improvement, self-enlightenment, recovering from abusive situations, personalities, and being a better friend to yourself, learning how to love yourself, be a more healthy person, healthy-minded, and how to succeed. And I love that channel. It's a very positive channel. And I love the work over there that I've done and all the wonderful people that have come to join the Dragonstorm community. So make sure to be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and suffer no fools. Oh, wash your hands and wash your ass.
I was going to ask about that. Yeah. You know,
It's very
interestingly
important.
enough, being homeless, I don't have access to a shower, and I have to use the little wipies and take the whore bath, you know? So I started...
But you are indeed, you are washing your hands and your ass.
I am washing my hands and my ass. I'm actually, we discovered this earlier, you guys. I'm like the snobbiest homeless guy that there is. You know? I can't believe you're sleeping under the underpass. I take whore baths with Arm & Hammer baking soda wipes.
We hang out with Fae folk under the fireworks.
What, you hang out with other bums? I hang out with the elves. Right.
Yes.
All right, you guys, I'd like to invite you to hold high whatever it is you are imbibing one last time for the savage salute. Here's to us. What's like us? Not a goddamn thing. Peace.
Washing your ass in your
Washing your
hands.